the Woodpreneur Podcast, where sawmill owners and lumber entrepreneurs grow their businesses. Every week, real stories from the timber industry. Whether you're starting small or running a big operation, subscribe for real stories and insights from the industry. Hello, and welcome to the Woodpreneur Podcast. I'm your new host, Jennifer Alger, and today I have on a second-time guest to the Woodpreneur Podcast, Daniel West of Big Ass Slabs. Welcome, Daniel.
Thanks, Jennifer. Great to be back a second time. It's been apparently about 7 years or so since I was first on, or 8 years, and a lot's changed. A lot is still the same, but interested in where we go today.
Yeah, you were episode number 21, and here you are back, new host, new growth, new equipment, and I'm sure new ideas for others of what to do and what not to do. So we're going to dive in here talking about Daniel's business. Daniel, tell us a little bit about where you're at and how you started your business.
Okay, well, I am located just outside of London, Ontario, Canada, and I started this about 9 years ago. I would have been 9 years ago in March, and basically kind of fell into it. I was working for a farmer,
Oh, I'm sorry. You were brand new then when you were on the podcast.
I was. And
wow, I bet you have tons of stories to tell us now.
So yeah, I kind of fell into the business. I was working for a farmer up the road who had a sawmill, had a couple of woodlots on his farms. I got my milling background there, and then he decided that he wanted to build a new house and was going to use timber frame. You know, him and I would do the logging and milling, and then we would turn it over to a framer.
Okay.
He had issues with the timber framer, which turned into him and I building the house, which was basically my first timber frame job. Was a big 30 by 35, 2-story, full attic.
Wow.
24 by 30 great room.
Sink or swim at that point, right?
Exactly. So that's where I got my background in the timber framing work that I do. And then ultimately him and I had a falling out, and I already had a timber frame job lined up with another local sawmill, Kintor Custom Hardwoods. So I helped them with milling and doing the timber framing on their showroom at the time.
Okay.
From there, I had purchased a Granberg 5-foot Alaskan mill. So I had already set up to do milling of the large live edge slabs. So like I said, it was not at all intended to go out on my own at the time, but circumstances were such that that was my option. And it's just sort of gone from there. And sometimes I've been pushing it forward. Sometimes it's been dragging me forward.
Yeah, well, business has a way of doing that, doesn't it? So you started in timber frame, but your business name is Big Ass Slabs. So you pivoted at some point. How did you go from timber framing material over and switch gears and go into the slabs?
It was actually I was doing both. I had picked up the Alaskan mill before I quit the job with the farmer, because at that point we were getting into larger logs that his LT40 at the time couldn't handle. So I thought, an Alaskan mill would be a nice complement to that. So I was had both going, and that kind of helped me through the time period of the transition, because if I was just doing one or the other, I don't think there would have been enough income at any stage to be able to sustain it.
Yeah, diversifying when you're small sometimes helps you kind of make those baby steps and figure out what you really want to do when you grow up, doesn't it?
Exactly. Well, and the fact that there's bills that need to be paid. So, I was doing custom milling, I was selling slabs, I was doing some timber frame projects, custom drying for people. Basically, at the beginning, you're doing whatever you need to do to pay the bills.
What are you drying with? So what kiln do you have?
Actually, I've got a homemade dehumidification kiln.
Oh, okay.
Simply a big insulated box. In fact, turn you that way. That's my insulated box there in the corner of the shop.
Oh, okay.
6 foot by 16 long by 9 foot tall. Series of fans across the top, dehumidifiers. And
right.
It's simple, but it does the job.
It's the job done. Great, great. I love it. And I like the way dehumidifier or dehumidifying technology dries because you can control your drying a lot more than if you just throw it in there and, you know, vacuum it all out.
Exactly.
So
It's a nice
I
slow
really,
process.
yeah, not to bash the other technology. We have both, but I really, if we have something really high end, I'm like, it's going in the DH kiln for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Slow and easy.
yeah, slow it down for sure. For sure. All right. So are you doing any of the timber framing now or did you?
I've scaled back on timber frame projects. I've gone from, first one being a big house to I stick to sort of backyard structures now. Gazebos, pergolas, that kind of thing.
Okay. Now in Canada, because okay, I'm in California. And so in California, I think it's or at least in our county, it's 12 by 12 structures don't require a permit. And well, if they're not touching another main structure.
Yeah.
And so what are there regulations like that in Canada and
Yeah,
certain size?
generally anything under 100 square feet doesn't require a permit. Anything above that, you're kind of at the whim of the local building inspector. I've got a building inspector in my township here that I think it was about a 16 by 30 structure. And he basically wanted to see my SketchUp drawings, asked me what kind of joints they were, what kind of footings. And he was, yeah, that's fine. That sounds good. You go to the neighboring city of London and you're going to want to have engineered plans and a building inspector looking over your shoulder on everything.
Okay.
So I
So it's
prefer to stick
county.
to the smaller townships.
Got it. Townships. We all ours are county based out here. So yeah. Well, cool. Yeah, because those could be pretty lucrative. Those smaller bills. You know, a lot of people want something
Yep.
for their backyard. What percentage would you say of your business is the slab market now versus the timber frame pergola type buildings?
I would say right at the moment, probably 80% is the live edge slabs, either the milling, drying, or sales.
Okay.
Last year, I only did some projects for builders like front porch uh, additions and that kind of thing.
Okay.
The last 5 years with COVID, there's been no consistency to the market. It seems like every 6 months to a year, the economic situation changes, and therefore you've got to figure out, okay, where are people spending their money this year?
Right. What's the trend now and what's going on? Now, you're in Canada, we're in the US, and every single election year, every single presidential election, so it's every 4 years, it doesn't matter who is elected. It doesn't matter who we're going for, you know, you know, what kind of battle is going on. There's always a battle. 3 to 4 months leading up to that election, sometimes 6 months, nobody wants to buy anything. Everybody's afraid of the other person, you know, the other demon.
Yeah.
And as soon as that election's over, we start to see people go, oh, we're not dead. We survived. And it starts to climb. How do our markets here with that? How do those affect Canada, you know, your sales, or does it?
I'm not sure it directly affects me, though it does affect the overall economic climate because a lot of our trade is interrelated, as we're finding out with the current events right now with
Right.
tariffs and such.
Right.
We're really one economy, even though we're two separate countries.
We interact so much. Yes, I see that.
Exactly. So there's a lot of uncertainty in the Canadian market right now because we just don't know where things are going to go. And after COVID, it's another level of uncertainty that, quite frankly, I could do without. It would be nice if we could just know that, hey, for the next 12 to 24 months, this is how it's going to be.
Right. If only, I think we'd all pool our resources and go in together. Like, let's do this. But yeah, that we seem to be lacking that crystal ball at all times. So since we are lacking a crystal ball, what are some of the things you do in your business to kind of prepare and hedge against the lack of said crystal ball?
I think basically just being diversified. Like right now, I offer milling services, custom drying. Obviously, I've got the slab miser back here, so custom
I see that.
surfacing, and then also slab sales, and then small timber frame projects. Also paired up with a couple of builders where I'll supply front porch posts or pediments or other timber accents. as much as I'd like to drive my business towards largely being slab sales. There's still enough uncertainty that I need to have a little bit of everything to make sure that there's always some money coming in.
Right. Be able to pivot quickly. Yes. Yeah. So I did notice that slab miser behind you. What now? And I know you have an online store. And so are all of the slabs that are on your online store, do they all go through that slab miser first so that they're
They do.
flattened?
Yeah.
And do you do both sides or?
I do both sides. I basically take it to the point where it's 90 to 95% flat. Sometimes if there's a little bit of a wing or corner that doesn't get touched, that's
Right.
okay. But I want the customers to know exactly what they're getting.
Yes. How thick is this really going to be when you're done? Yeah. Getting them a lot in that ballpark. That's
And,
great.
and I would rather take that loss on my end and have the customer get something that they're satisfied than buy a rough piece and come back a week later and say, well, it's only half an inch thick now.
Yeah, yeah. That would be problematic and not help you with that next sale.
Exactly. Ultimately, a smooth, flat piece of wood sells quicker than a rough piece. Even for
It
people who
does.
work with wood all the time,
Even though
they're
they
so
can
surprised what's under there.
Yes, yes, even though they know what it's going to look like, we're still humans and our eye still goes to that fiddleback or that beautiful green pattern or whatever it is, that sycamore, that design that you see in the courtesan sycamore. Our eye still goes to it and we gravitate to it even though we know what's going to be under it. So it's funny how we do that as humans. So, yeah. What trends do you see any design trends or anything different that people are buying from you now versus say pre-COVID? Has anything there changed at all?
Since pre-COVID, during COVID, there was a lot more desks, mantles, shelving, stuff to improve the home that everyone was stuck in.
Right, right.
Mantles, I find, tend to be a little bit of a cycle to them. I had probably 6 months to a year in the past year where I didn't really sell any mantle stock. Now I've got 3 or 4 inquiries. I just delivered one to a builder last week. So I'm likely looking at a run of mantles over the next 6 months. I find the large cookies are kind of the same thing. I can go 6 months and not sell a 3 foot diameter cookie, and then all of a sudden 5 of them go in a month. Whether
Right.
it's that people saw it on Pinterest or Facebook or something and they decided that's what they had to have. And
Yeah. I think because I started to follow and see what is driving those trends because we'll see very similar things, everything goes in these cycles and in these pockets. And I'm like, all right, what influencer just had a cookie table on their TV show or whatever? And it's like, okay, you almost want to donate something to them, don't you?
I thought about that a few times.
Right. Get that name out there and then just be ready for it right when it airs and just run a bunch of ads or something. So crazy, crazy. What's been your biggest challenge or obstacle? You left you were working for a farmer, kind of left that, and you're running this business full time. What was your biggest obstacle? Like, was there ever a roadblock where you're like, I can't do this? So how do I get over this?
The biggest ongoing challenge has been marketing and getting customers in the door. I've tried various different methods of paid advertising, woodworking magazines, Google and Facebook ads. And quite frankly, with all of them, I would have gotten more use out of the money if I put it in a pile and lit it on fire to keep warm.
Oh no. Oh no. Okay.
Word of mouth is definitely my best marketing tool,
Uh-huh.
but you have no control over it. You give
Little
lots of
control.
good customer service, and at some point that customer is going to talk to someone else, but it might be 2 weeks, it might be 2 months. So yeah, the ongoing struggle is just getting my product in front of people.
Right, right. What do you do with that? Do you have any personal branding strategy that you do to help with that? Or what is it just posting ads on Facebook and Google? What are you doing?
It's largely being, Instagram and Facebook posts,
Oh,
having my entire inventory on the website so that when people inquire, I can very quickly either just give them the website link or give them a filtered link to what I think might fit for
right.
them.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
I am actually starting to work later this week with a marketing business local here that she's going to help me pull together, my Facebook, my Instagram, my Google profile, my website,
Mhm.
and get them all working coherently.
Okay.
Because that's something that, yes, I can make an Instagram post.
Mhm.
I can put my inventory on my website. I don't have the knowledge of how to get it all to integrate and work cohesively.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I would say a professional marketer would be a great place to do that. Also, you can join, and I don't know if you've ever done this, but join the Woodpreneur community. And there's weekly things that you can do on your own in addition to having that marketer do those other things that you can really do a deeper dive and learn. I've learned so much from that. You learn every time you're in a group of other people brainstorming things, you're going to learn. So I would encourage you maybe to look into that as well. Just that continuing growth and just keep trying new things. So yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the things we're going to focus on with the marketing is telling the stories. You know,
Huge. Huge.
how did I get here? What different products, walnut charcuterie stock, ash cookies,
Right.
mantle stock, all that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Right now, a lot of my social media posts are, hey, I'm working in the shop on this today. Check out my website. Come spend money.
I've seen some like I think your baby, you had some family stuff in there, and I that actually made me remember you more because you brought these personal stories in, and I think people want to get to know Daniel. They want to know who Daniel is, and so that part of that personal branding is so powerful. They get to know who you are and why they want to do business with you, and that storytelling on your story, as well as if you've got a really cool story with the wood. I think both of those are super valuable things to do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's definitely the direction I want to take my social media so that it's not just strictly me peddling material to people. It's giving them a reason to engage and
yes,
come back.
trust you. Yes, yes, I love that. I love that. Is there a specific, if you went back through all the projects that you've ever done, what was the one that you were the most proud of? That you're like, yeah, I worked on that.
Probably the ones where I've helped people take a tree that's been special to them
Mhm.
and, you know, put it into a piece that's in their house. A recent one that we had about 2 years ago now was a subdivision was being built at the back of a person's property. There was a big maple tree that was in the way that had to come down for the earthworks.
Uh-huh.
So I went, picked up the log, brought it back, we milled it, we dried it, and in the time since, we've made a river dining table, a piece of wall art, four or five floating shelves, which
Love it.
I despise floating shelves, but
I love them.
and then we did a big shelf unit for them, all out of this tree. And don't get me wrong, floating shelves look great. I just hate doing them.
Yeah. No, I know I get you. I get you. Yeah. I love that. I love that. I work so much with urban wood. And so like one of the biggest things that drives our business is telling the story of where this tree came from, giving that backstory and recording that with each piece as it goes along. So I know our customers resonate with that, and I'm sure your customers really resonate with that as well. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. So if you were able to give the audience listening, like if there's just one thing that you really want them to know about this business that you're in, what would that be?
I think that it's about finding the right piece for the person.
Mm, okay.
It's with the live edge wood, it's not like dimensional where a 1x6 is a 1x6 is 1x6.
Right.
People are looking for that piece that inspires them.
Hmm.
I've had customers come in and the first piece, I'll a little bit of banter, get an idea of what their project is and what size and shape they're looking for. And I'll start pulling pieces out and say, what do you think of this? And you can pretty instantly see on their face, Does it register? Does it? It's kind of blah.
In the right direction. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had customers where the very first piece I pull out is the one that they walk away with. I've had customers where it's 45 minutes later and we've looked at 100 pieces and they find the one that they're after.
The one on the bottom, right?
Always the one on the bottom.
It's the rule.
But that it's about helping them find that right piece that they're going to go home with and they're going to be happy with.
Yes, yes. Now, how do they do business with you? Does your average client come in with an inspiration photo, or how is somebody wants something, how do they connect and get the download to you of what it is they're looking for, and what's your process of helping them with that?
In a perfect world, yeah, they come in with a picture that they've gotten off of Pinterest or Google. Usually they don't, but they usually will have dimensions that they're starting with.
Okay.
Or they'll have a species that they prefer. And from there, like I said, I can start pulling out pieces, gauging their reaction and know if we're going in the right direction or not. And a lot of it is quite often restricted to size. So I've got my inventory stored in such a way that, if you're looking for charcuterie stock, we're going to this place. If you're looking for coffee tables, we're going into this container. If you want a dining table, we're going into that container, kind of thing.
Right.
And
okay.
Able to narrow it down a little bit quicker.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. So organized by size. Now, your business name says Big Ass Slabs. How big are these slabs? Like, what do you got? Tell me what you got.
I've got everything from single size charcuterie stock right up to my biggest pieces that are ready to work with right now are some ash slabs that are almost 16 foot long and 3 to 4 foot wide, 2.5 inch thick.
Okay. So those are big ash slabs then.
They are.
Great, great. Do they have like a cool backstory or anything that you can attach to help sell them, or?
That one, I do actually remember where the tree came from. I could actually even drive a person to it if needed.
Uh-huh.
And it was a roadside tree that had been taken down. The farmer kept, most of it for firewood, but had the big log that wanted to get some material out of. And I actually remember it was Thanksgiving weekend here in Canada, which is in October instead of November.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, Thanksgiving? I'm not very cultured. I didn't know you had a Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we do. Ours in October instead. But
okay.
My dad my dad and I spent a couple of days there doing the chainsaw milling on site, and we had to load it up onto wagons to bring it back. And that was actually one of my earlier projects. That was probably in 2017, 2018. And I've sold some pieces out of it, and I still have 4 sizable pieces left. And
great. Oh, so if you've got 4 pieces of the same size, I could see you really approaching like a local restaurant or a local business that needs multiple conference tables. Hey, I've got several of the same size. That would be a good way to get rid of them all at once to somebody who needs duplication.
Yeah.
Which
and
is
beating it out of the same tree. They are all consistent in color and grain.
Yes. Yeah, they have that consistency, and it's hard. That's one thing. It sounds like you do a lot of urban wood like we do. And that's one of the things that is hard to get is that consistency in the urban wood, because we're not going out and harvesting, thousands of acres of the same thing and getting a 2x4, 2x6 over and over and over again. Everything has so much unique character. And so, yeah, that would be a great way to move all those at once and then get more.
Exactly.
Yeah. Call them the Big Ash Slabs. Yeah. Very cool. All right. So Daniel, what would you say is the most difficult thing that you see in the next year that you're going to have to look at with your business? And what are you doing to prepare for that?
Probably partly the uncertainty in the markets, in the economy right now, which is something I have no control over.
Right.
Hopefully it will help, because there's a big buy local movement to counter the uncertainties that are going on.
Right. Yeah. The tariffs have got to be scary for you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that will shift people's spending to to buying more local, and then basically just the marketing plan that I'm putting together and working to get in front of more people. It's one of those things that mathematically it should be very simple for me. Like within the 2-hour drive of my location, there's approximately 8 or 9 million people. On my website right now, I have about 1,000 pieces. I only want 1,000 customers if they each buy one.
Right, right. Yeah. So that buy local would really work well for you. I think that that's one of the things that your marketing director can really help you hone in on local, telling that story. As you know, if you're buying local, it's not only helping the local economy, for your local economies, it's literally storing carbon and reducing your carbon footprint. And telling that story too is so important and so valuable to people.
Yeah. Yeah. It does come down to stories, I think, is the biggest marketing.
It does. It does. If we only had enough time to tell all the stories, right? So Daniel, this is a part of the podcast where you get to ask me if there is anything that I can do to help you with brainstorming, marketing, anything like that to help you, or just, general business stuff that I can help you to be ready for the next thing. What is there anything that's going on with you right now with that?
I think to circle back to the marketing again, probably how to improve repeat customers and word of mouth.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah. So with the word of mouth, you're right. They don't all say something, and sometimes they say it 2 years later. And then sometimes they forget who they bought it from and they don't
Yeah.
remember it all. And so one of the things with word of mouth that we've kind of started, tried to do is to really build those relationships with those customers so they don't forget, oh, which shop was that I bought that from again? Oh, no, no, no. They bought it from Daniel. They worked with Daniel. Daniel helped them. And so I think really making sure that you're honing in on that customer relationship. Even though it's a business transaction, it still can be relational. And so making sure that you're focusing on that and then literally asking them, and this is something that we've just kind of started to implement. We've not been great at this before, is just start to ask them, would you mind giving me a Google review? Or a Yelp
Yeah.
review if you use Yelp or whatever. I always forget Yelp exists, but asking every single customer, and then they have it in, then it's in writing. And then if their friend, they're going, wait, my friend just bought a coffee table slab from him. I want a coffee table slab. And so it just kind of helps it. And so that's, I think that increases that word of mouth and helps get that repeat business back to you.
Yeah. It reinforces that you exist for them.
Yes, yes. And storytelling, finding a way to document. And one of the things that we do is we document where every single log comes from. We document why it came down. We tell that story and we document the miles that it traveled. And so we're keeping all of that data, and that really helps resonate with our customers. And I'm sure it will with yours as well. And then finding a community, a little woodworking community, something like that you are active in, that you're engaged in. So your local community knows what you're doing and knows who you are. You're on the right track with getting some professional marketing. That's so huge. But joining that, joining a community of other people who can help you be better every single day and challenge you and brainstorm with you. I think those would be really important things. Was that helpful?
Yes, it was.
Good, good. All right. Daniel, everybody listening, how would they get in contact with you? How would they find your products, and where will they find you?
Okay. Well, the first place to look is my website, bigassslabs.ca.
Okay.
And then I'm also Big Ass Slabs on Facebook and Instagram. And of course, you can find me on Google Maps and my Google profile there. As Big
Great.
Ass Slabs.
All right. And so it's bigasslabs.ca, not .com. That's where you're going to find Daniel. All right. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for being with us today. It was great getting to know you. I know I've seen you on Instagram. We've chatted back and forth on that, but this is the first time I really got to sit down and actually have a conversation with you. And it was great getting to know you. Thank you so much for being on.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Great, great. And you're welcome. And so for those of you listening at home, if you haven't already, go wherever you download your podcasts and subscribe to Woodpreneur Podcast. We'll see you next time. Thank you.